Common misunderstandings about Nibbana. Attaching to non-attachment. The origin of suffering can be identified with its two primary agents, ignorance, avidya, and craving, tanha. Likewise, the cessation of suffering can be identified with two essential qualities, knowledge, vidya, and deliverance, vimutti. The former process may be described as ignorance leading to attachment, and the latter as deliverance through knowledge. In the former process, the link which leads to birth and becoming is upadana, translated as grasping, clinging, or attachment. In the later process, the link which leads out of the round of rebirth, samsara vata, is nibbida, translated as disenchantment or dispassion, the end of craving and attachment. As a pair, upadana and nibbida are polar opposites. Upadana stems indirectly from not knowing the true nature of things. This not knowing opens the door to craving, the wish to possess and consume things. Craving leads to getting tied up and investing in things being a certain way, which is upadana. In contrast, nibbida springs from a thorough understanding of those things formerly attached to. One understands their faults and dangers, and one sees the harm of getting obsessed with them. This gives rise to disenchantment. One is no longer fascinated by these things and is willing to relinquish them. Disenchantment arises from knowing the true nature of things. This knowledge is called yata bhuta yana dasana. It is important to note that both the arising of disenchantment and the eradication of clinging are due to knowledge. With a true understanding of things, nibbida arises and upadana ceases automatically. It is a natural causal process or a state that arises following causes and conditions. One sometimes hears the injunction, don't be attached, let go, or all that is necessary is non-clinging. This teaching is laudable, but one should bear in mind that non-attachment needs to arise correctly in line with a natural process. If it does not, one's practice may be incorrect and even harmful. The risk is that one attaches to non-attachment, which can have the same detrimental effects as clinging to anything else. Imagine that a beautifully wrapped bundle has been placed within a locked glass case. A man sees the bundle and is convinced that it contains something valuable. He is fixated on obtaining that object, but is unable to get at it. Later, someone whom he respects tells him that there is nothing of value in that bundle and that coveting it is harmful. One part of the man wants to believe this advice and realizes the damaging effects of his actions, but on a deeper level he is still convinced the bundle contains a treasure. He is unable to sever his longing through willpower. Although he tries to prove to others that he has let go, his outward behavior displays a disinterest for the bundle. But even if he were to loudly broadcast this, his heart is still bound. Moreover, in his attempt to show others he does not care, he may behave oddly and inappropriately. Later, the contents of the bundle are revealed to to the man, and he sees that they are indeed worthless. Knowing this clearly for himself, the hankering then ceases immediately. Even if he were to try and convince himself to desire the object, he would remain disinterested. His mind is prepared to engage fully with other things. The behavior above can be compared to that of unawakened persons, whose desires and attachments are influenced by craving. They may have been told that their desired objects are essentially undesirable and that their attachment is potentially harmful. They may agree through reasoning that the desire and attachment is harmful and want to believe that the longed for objects are of no value, but they do not yet truly see it this way. Deep down, the desire and attachment remains. They may seemingly be disinterested in those pleasurable things, but this disinterest or non-attachment is not genuine and is a form of posturing. They are simply conforming behavior to an idea of non-attachment. Their non-attachment is a form of attachment, and their actions are dictated by this attachment. This can result in disingenuous or eccentric behavior. In contrast, when one understands the true nature of conditioned phenomena, that specific conditions bring about inevitable results, the heart is delivered, and grasping ceases of its own accord. One's behavior is then natural and uncontrived. Returning to the former example, the man who desires the bundle, his friend may explain the entire sequence of how the bundle and its worthless contents were prepared. Following this reasoning, the man may be convinced that the contents are indeed valueless. This firm conviction may have a strong bearing on his thoughts and actions. Although he is not yet completely free of desire, only a mild longing remains, quite different from his initial passion. This is similar to the knowledge and state of mind of persons who have achieved the first 3 stages of enlightenment, from stream enterers to non-returners, those ranked between ordinary people and arahants. Examples from everyday life that reveal a person's true level of non-attachment are the emotions of worry and fear. Some people feel nervous seemingly for no reason. Even scolding themselves for this feeling does not help. A person may be in a safe place with no cause for fear, but as soon as he hears the cry of a wild animal or a siren, he involuntarily gets frightened. Rational thought alone cannot uproot these emotions. One must get to the heart of the matter. Ordinary people without deep insight may ask if they should practice non-attachment. Because the recognition of the dangers of attachment is beneficial, they are advised to practice in this way. They should bear in mind, however, that they still abide at one level of attachment, and that it is detrimental to believe prematurely that they have attained true non-attachment. By acting judiciously and wisely, the harmful consequences of excessive and deceptive behavior are avoided. This virtuous conduct and self-discipline creates a foundation for genuine non-attachment in the future. Although attaching to non-attachment is usually well-intentioned, there are those with ill intent who may argue that since all things are insubstantial and people are made up of component parts, no one exists in any real sense. Therefore, it is acceptable to harm others. This is simply an extreme form of attachment. They are selecting an aspect of truth to justify their own desires. If they were not in some way obsessed with the victim and had no evil intent, why would they wish to cause the person harm? Overestimation. Most people are preoccupied by material concerns. When they experience subtle, unfamiliar spiritual events, they are easily impressed. But because they lack a fundamental understanding of the workings of the mind, they are unable to distinguish between the different experiences and get confused. Even skilled practitioners can have this problem. An analytical or reflective ability goes a long way to prevent misunderstanding and misguided effort. People who are fascinated with miracles and the supernatural tend to praise those with psychic powers and believe that they have reached the highest spiritual goal. Likewise, someone who is keen on solitude, develops the mind, and has tasted the joy of seclusion will often instill faith in others, even if he or she has not yet reached any exceptional states of mind. People who have attained the fruits of serenity practice samatha jhanas will appear even more impressive. They themselves may mistake serenity for insight, or they may overestimate their achievements and believe to be enlightened. They may attain the joy of insight vipassana sukha, which is technically classified as an impurity, upakilesha, and mistake this for Nibbana. They may get carried away by the praise lavished by others. This is not to say that one should be suspicious or find fault, since it is suitable to respect those who are worthy, but one should know clearly what other people have to offer. This way the rewards of Dhamma practice for both practitioners and their admirers will not lead to ill effects, and they will avoid getting stuck in extreme asceticism or another form of wrong practice. Happiness and readiness for happiness. Happiness is an essential ingredient for Dhamma practice. Buddhism encourages people to experience the different levels of happiness, in particular the refined happiness, independent of material things, which provides a great benefit to practice. Delight in sensual pleasures needs no encouraging, as people are preoccupied enough with this already. Buddhism does not promote attachment to any kind of happiness, and is more interested in cultivating a readiness in people to experience happiness than in the various states of happiness themselves. When this state of readiness is developed, a person can choose at will from those levels of happiness already established. This readiness is itself an inherent form of happiness, which surpasses all other happiness. For realized persons who have developed this readiness, no source of suffering remains, permitting them to experience all forms of happiness without causing harm to themselves or others. This inherent happiness is one vital feature of Nibbana.